Welcome to the Food Startups Podcast, connecting the opaque world of food startups.
This is Daniel Imri Sitanayake of Tiny Farms, and you are listening to the Food Startups Podcast.
Hey guys, this is Matt Aaron and the 71st episode of the Food Startups Podcast. Boy, am I excited because I got to make a in-person visit to a company in Washington, D.C., and I learned quite a bit just by being in the office for, a little over an hour. One, just meeting the team, getting a demo of the app, instant pickup on the culture. And two, I'm pretty excited. The company is called Bluecart. They are growing really, really quickly. They're an app that allows restaurants and suppliers to handle ordering and, restaurants for ordering and sales for suppliers. And it's a really, really slick app. And the business model is different from the competition. And this is why I think it's kind of borrowing from Shane Snow's book, Smart Cuts, which has a lot of really cool anecdotes and I recommend reading. The whole idea of 10x thinking, right? So not just trying to grow 10% on the competition where you have to really hustle and just have the best sales and marketing. They just changed the model. They made it completely free. So Bluecart is free for restaurants and suppliers, and they have an advertising model. So we'll go more into it in the show, but let's just say you are a coffee roaster. You can be on the Bluecart app and, have your account as a supplier and then advertise, so restaurant buyers, while they're looking to order, maybe they're looking to order coffee and then a coffee roaster comes along with an ad and they can click and order right there. So it's like super, super powerful and targeted advertising. And, I already have a number of people that I've thought about recommending it to because it's a great way to get your company out there and to sell to restaurants, which are a little bit more difficult to sell to than, let's say, a retail chain just because of the, the size. It might just be one or two restaurants. So the sales effort is a little bit more difficult. So yeah, I'm going to go into episode now. Tons and tons of learning. We have Jag and Andrew. And please follow up with me or with the Bluecart team after the show. Okay, so I have Andrew, the marketing lead, and Jag, the co-founder. Now, Jag, what were you doing before this?
Sure. Before we started Bluecart, actually I've been in the hospitality space. I've worked in kitchens. I've seen everything that goes on and where there's a lot of technology being infused and definitely where there's a lot that's needed. Then I've actually worked at Accenture, one of the tech consulting companies, for several years and primarily been around tech, and that's kind of combining what my previous experience was in hospitality and everything I saw in terms of technology was really figuring out where we can come up with great tools to help our potential customers in this space.
And I have to imagine this is going to be positive, the change. How does the culture compare here in Bluecart compared to Accenture?
I have nothing but great things to say about Accenture. It's a great company, made tons and tons of great friends. One of the things that I really enjoy about working or having launched Bluecart is essentially it's a very small, very collegiate, very, doesn't get any better than a team environment. It's very flat. There's no sense of hierarchy. Everyone's very collaborative. We sit together all day long. We spend probably too much time together at work some days. But it's great. We all kind of go through the ups and downs of the startup life together.
And listeners, I just want to mention, this can be found at foodstartupspodcast.com/Bluecart. And so I'm here, actually, this is my first in-person interview. And so Andrew and Jag, what they just said is correct. They're in a co-working space right now. And, they got around 18 people working here. And it's true. When I walked in there, I was not able to discern, any hierarchy. They're all kind of open, kind of a shared desk type environment. So it's really cool. And I got a tour of the app, which is fantastic. And Andrew, how about you? How did you get your start?
So I came to this in a little bit more of a roundabout way. Before Bluecart, I was managing mine clearance operations around the world. So I worked for a big organization called the Halo Trust that does humanitarian mine clearance. So I spent a couple years in Angola, a year in Afghanistan, and some time in Mozambique, which is what connected me to Jag's co-founder, Constantine, because he had spent time in Mozambique with a friend of mine from high school. So when I moved to DC, my friend came to visit both of us, introduced us, and I met these guys in their first co-working space where they were just over a year ago, and decided I could offer a little bit of my experience to them and start helping them out, and it's been a great time ever since.
Wow, and Mozambique, they speak Portuguese?
They do.
Did you pick it up?
Fala Português.
Você fala. Cool. Great language. And okay, so mine clearance. Just to make sure I got this right? Like
very logical transition.
Yeah,
of course. Most people in tech space started out clearing lines, but that's. I mean, how dangerous is it as a job?
It's one of those things that as long as you're not overconfident, that it's a relatively safe experience. It's actually like injury rates and accident rates are on par with big agriculture or stuff like that. So a guy who works on a massive farm is probably as likely to lose his arm in a combine accident as somebody who clears landmines for a living. Wow. Just got to be careful and keep your wits about you, and just don't get too confident. You can follow procedures and get things done.
Wow.
Safely.
And what was life like in Mozambique?
Mozambique. In Mozambique, I was doing a lot of survey work, which means going around and camping in various places and doing mapping of minefields and talking to locals. So it was mostly spent in a tent outside local police stations in random villages in the middle of nowhere, Mozambique, which was a beautiful, wonderful experience. I love Mozambique. I had the greatest experience there. Yeah, it was a wonderful time.
So you have really good survival skills then.
Survival. Well, I mean, I was able to buy food in the places I went to. I wasn't, hunting for things or anything like that.
But I don't underestimate just living. I mean, how many of us today can say we live? Because my cousin's an archaeologist and he works out in New Mexico, but there's not too many people that have been able to live for a year in a tent.
Yeah, well, it takes a little bit of patience, but it's doable. And I was young and excited about life, and I still am, but in a different way now. So yeah, it was good. It was a good experience. Yeah.
That's great. And okay, so I guess I want to get into Bluecart, and we have two pretty exciting things. It's going to be October when this podcast is released, October or November. But recently this year, towards the end of July or mid to end July, you guys got a $4 million investment.
Correct.
Now, who did the pitch?
Who did we pitch?
Who actually did the pitch? Was it all three of you guys? Or?
No, it was primarily Constantine and I that did all the pitches to the investors, potential investors.
And was this out in San Francisco? Or?
Yeah, it's funny. We actually met with these investors back in about November, December of last year. They liked what they saw, but we just weren't growing at that scale yet. So we kept in touch, and really our metrics started taking off this year. And when we re-engaged them around, I want to say maybe late May, early June, they saw the business was really booming compared to when they saw us late last year. So we reconnected. They asked us to come out to San Francisco. We pitched them again, talked about what our long-term growth plans are, and they loved it. And we're super excited to have them on board.
Wow. And how long was the pitch? How many minutes was it? It was a long presentation, a quick one, or?
No, it's. I would say it's very interactive. It's. I think it's different. Everyone kind of asks if it's like Shark Tank, like you get up and you pitch, etc.
Right.
But most of these presentations are very interactive. You start telling your story, what your plans are, and the investors who are really keen, they start asking questions right away. So, which is good for us because we see that they, number one, know the industry. Number two, they're interested in what we're telling them. So most of these are very interactive. They want to question how we're going to acquire customers, how are we going to scale, how are we going to go after different markets, and you find out very quickly that they're interested or not.
And not just that, I'll add that I think one of the things that really impressed these guys is that Bluecart is incredibly metrics focused. So we measure everything, and I think that's a huge plus for investors. So if you're a young startup, you're getting ready to pitch these Silicon Valley guys, start thinking about what you're measuring, what your numbers are, what's your customer acquisition costs, those kind of things that you always hear about, but then get down to even more detailed stuff and figure out, I can't even think of examples now. We have so many different things going.
Oh, totally. We literally track things on a daily level and see really, are we growing compared to last month, perhaps even last quarter? And if we're not, we're always looking at all kinds of levers as to what's driving the growth, what's slowing down. Because at the stage we are, we want to continue to grow as quickly as we can.
And it's all based on what our customers want, right? So every time we make a decision, we measure the results. Ultimately, when they ask, why'd you make that decision? We can say, well, we've talked to X number of customers and this is what they asked for. Or we literally will bring people in and have lunch and just be like, what are you guys looking for? What do you like about the app? What don't you like about the app? And that's what drives our decision-making, is what our customers really are interested in.
And what's the really iconic free ebook by 37 Signals? Have you guys read that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll find the name of it and I'll put this on the link. I'll send it to you guys. But this was like, it's like one of, I think it was their first ebook that really got them going. And they just talked about features and how they're not about having tons and tons of features. Like if 10% want it, they don't care. But if like, and it seems like you guys are metrics driven, but when everyone, literally everyone wants it, then you guys add it in.
And one of the rules that we live by is build, test, and learn. And what that essentially is, we don't waste 6 months developing this massive feature that we don't know if someone's going to like or not like. We rather invest a week, 2 weeks, essentially small chunks of time, implement something at a small scale, roll it out, get customer feedback, test it essentially with our customers, and then build on top of it. Because if we invest 6 months, all this engineering time to build something and our customers are like, this is not needed, we've essentially wasted 6 months that we can't get back. But if we do things in small chunks, we can, if it doesn't work, we throw it away. If it does work, we know which direction to head in. So that's a philosophy I know our engineering team lives by, and even our sales, essentially every team within our company operates in that way, is do things quickly, test them out, see if they work, and then iterate on top of it.
And keep it simple. Our customers, they just want simplicity. They want to be able to open it up, use it quickly and easily, no friction, just I know what to do, I see the screen, it's all obvious. When you start building these complicated helicopters, people just drift and you lose people pretty quickly.
It's interesting. I was telling you guys earlier, I was going through choosing the accounting software for my company, and everyone knows what QuickBooks is. So I get into QuickBooks, and there's like 500 categories I was just like, listen, I don't want to have to like, I think I went to like some freelance website, maybe like Upwork or something, to see if I get a consultant. But then I found a better option. This is not a plug, by the way. I'm just like saying, but like QuickBooks is not. You guys are like not like QuickBooks has a different business model in a different industry, right? But they're all about like as many features as possible. You need to hire someone that can learn the QuickBooks software. But for you guys, if you're like a restaurant buyer, they want it all to be intuitive, right? They don't have to like spend. Like, this is not a company where you have to go train people how to use the app.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Our sort of motto is that anybody should be able to download it, use it. And one of the things with apps they talk about is they want to measure the longer someone uses your app, the better your app is. But for us, it's the opposite, that the less time people spend in the app, probably the better, because we want them to get in, do the work they need to, which is essentially place the order and get out. So it's as seamless as that. There's no reason to learn how to use this massive system. Even though we're a technology company, the fact that if people use it and forget that we existed is probably good, because we didn't get in the way of them running their business, which is essentially running great restaurants.
Wow. And now, I guess for both of you guys, you guys are changing your business model, right? Or you've recently changed your business model to, is freemium the right word? I'm not sure if that makes sense.
It totally is. I mean, our premise is we want to create this platform completely free for both sides. One of the things that we're very proud of is that we're building this.
And excuse me for 1 second, listeners, both sides being like restaurants and
their distributors.
And distributors and vendors.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's sort of what differentiates us in the market, is we're creating a platform that is servicing both sides. It's not just one or the other. We want to create a market where both parties come on, transact, and there are features that benefit both. So for restaurants, for example, they want to place their orders as quickly as possible. They want tracking, they want order history and reports. And for the supplier side, we notice there's a trend where suppliers are starting to invest money in their own online and mobile ordering platforms. And we look at it as it's great, but why make that big investment, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then you've got to pay every year for maintenance, security, the new Apple upgrade that's going to come out, whereas we can literally create that for you right out of the box. You sign up and you can give online ordering to all of your customers. So those are the two sides, as you mentioned.
Right. And this is just like to explain, I've talked about this in the intro, but it's completely free now for the restaurants and the suppliers. There's always a little bit of friction, trying to sell someone to use a product, but now there's no additional cost. And it's really interesting to me. They just showed me their advertising model. Mm-hmm. So think of it this way. If you're we'll use coffee. If you're a coffee company, what a great place to advertise, because these are restaurants that you can advertise to restaurants there, and they're actually actively buying. They're like in buying mode right now. So to me, it's a really brilliant advertising model.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think the word freemium gets sort of a bad rap, and that's I would say that it's almost not what we are. When I think of freemium, I think of like those terrible games that you download and you start playing, and then they start slowing you down because you haven't paid anything, and you can pay 99 cents to get like a little bit faster or something. What we're doing is we're leaning on the advertising, which, as you say, is like super targeted, and we found that we have enough people on the platform now that people are willing to pay a premium for it. So we're using that sponsored content, and then everything that's on the site and the app now that people love is free in perpetuity. What we're going to do is build extra features on top of it that we think people will really be interested in paying for. So there's no like slow down, like no, you can't get this feature because you didn't pay. Now everything you see is free. It's what we're doing in the future that we think might interest people in paying like a monthly fee or a percentage. We'll see how it works out. Yeah.
Cool. And so I have a question for you. So you guys are very analytical, right? Like data-driven company, a lot of iterations, agile, right? Like lean startup, quote unquote. So with your, I guess I want to say how, when you guys blew up, no pun on minds, but when you guys blew up this year, what metric, like what metrics did you guys like focus on, like one or two key metrics? What were those metrics? And, was it like an overnight thing? Was it a week thing? How was the exciting like blow up?
Yeah, I mean, the two metrics for us is how much the restaurants are using the platform. And for us, we measure that in terms of how many suppliers they add onto the platform. Because we know on average they have anywhere from 10 plus, maybe up to 20. And the more suppliers they use, we know the more useful our platform is to them. So that's a metric we've been literally chasing religiously since day one. And now we're getting to a point where we see chefs using us for 80 to 90% of their inventory, which is huge, meaning they want to do essentially as much as they can onto our platform and not have to worry about writing stuff down on pieces of paper and then calling in their orders at night or faxing in their orders, etc. And the other metric we look at is from the supplier side, are the suppliers really asking their end users to use us? Because we create efficiencies for the supplier because all the orders come into one place. The suppliers can use this to figure out what their delivery schedule needs to be, what their preparation needs to be tonight. So, and we've seen tremendous increase on both sides, meaning restaurants are using this more and the suppliers are asking more of their buyers to use our platform to transmit orders.
Fantastic. Okay. So yeah, I guess I want to finish off with Andrew and the marketing. Like, I had seen your article on Food Tech Connect. I know you guys are doing some trade shows. You said you're going to speak at Duke. Like, what about content marketing? How big is content marketing for your business right now?
So content marketing is super important. The difference with us is that we sort of straddle tech and food, obviously. Food tech company.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So talking to restaurants, there's a lot of noise out there. There are tons of websites. I mean, there's whole newspapers and magazines focused on talking to restaurants about how to do better business, all this kind of stuff. So we're lucky enough that we talk to enough chefs on a daily basis that we can actually add value there. And I think we're really starting to do that. So we have our own blog on bluecart.com that brings in a lot of our knowledge from our sales staff that we ask them actually to write some blogs. So they go out and talk to chefs and find out what's going on in your kitchen, what's the interesting thing that's happening in the industry for you right now. We put that out there. And then, as you said, we also get out there and we write guest blogs for people because we have our finger on the pulse of the supply side of the restaurant industry. So I'm able to talk to people on our staff and come up with an article for instance, Food Tech Connect that really lays out what suppliers are interested in right now, which is like this entire race to the bottom for everyone selling things. So they're understandably nervous that tech companies are going to come in and put all suppliers out there in this massive marketplace where everyone's going to go penny shopping and you're never going to have a relationship with a restaurant again. That's something that people are genuinely nervous about that no one's really talking about because everybody's super excited about just tech solving every problem.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that we can write about and talk directly to suppliers and restaurants and talk about how our entire goal is improving those relationships. And so we add value in the articles and people come and read those. I think that Food Tech Connect article got a ton of people to come and give us a call and say, hey, like, we're interested in what you're doing. We've heard other platforms try to compare prices. Like, how is it that you guys get around that? So content marketing is incredibly valuable. And I'd say to anybody in a startup, whether it's the food space or otherwise, you got to get out there. You have to write content for your own blog, and then you have to try to place stuff in other publications and put your knowledge out there for everyone to see.
Right on. And a guy that was in an entrepreneur forum that I'm part of, Dan Norris, he just released a book on Amazon about content marketing, and they're from WordPress, WP Curve, and they're like $1 million a month now. And he says it's pretty much all in content marketing, right? So you guys have a really good strategy over there. Because, sometimes it's like old school just to have like a company blog and just do it because you think that's something you should do. You guys are actually adding value. And
yeah. It can be fun too. I mean, I think our last one was like about Bradley Cooper in this movie Burnt, so it's not always.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Tell me about it.
It's just a quick write up on the trailer for Burnt, the Bradley Cooper movie. I have not seen the movie, so our write up was watch this trailer and we'll come back and talk about it later, basically. But we have fun with it too. A lot of it's serious, like important stuff for the industry, and then a lot of it's just fun stuff that we think our users want to read. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for coming on the show. Again, bluecart.com and your guys' Twitter, email. How do you prefer to be contacted?
We can go ahead and do Twitter. We are at Bluecart app and at Bluecart HQ. We're sort of deciding between the two. And then on email, we will be info@bluecart.com.
Okay, great. All right. Well, great interview, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, find us online at foodstartupspodcast.com.